What's up, everybody? It's Josh here. For those of you who know me, I'm no sucker. I like to research things. I like to find out the raw truth about what's going on, even if it's at the cost of my own sanity sometimes, or at the cost of what I believe or want to believe. And that's the key part right there, what people want to believe. And the last couple of days I've been doing an immense amount of research and experimentation with sound. I like to read about things, but I like to do things more because I feel like my intention in the experiment makes it that much better. It's just like growing your own pot as opposed to buying it from someone else. It's always better if you know a little bit about growing it. And I think that spiritual insight's a lot of the same way. So, experimenting with these tones and frequencies, I've found some interesting, well, first off, I've been trying to restructure water. This is what I figured out that finally we can do with these frequencies, is restructure water somehow. And as for the rest of it, I'm very, very curious about tones themselves. Now, I want to talk about solfeggio for a minute. I'm sure you've all heard of solfeggio frequencies, and if you haven't, then maybe you should look into that before because you won't probably won't understand what I'm talking about, but I'll try to lay it out. There's supposedly this set of ancient solfeggio tones. They are considered healing frequencies. Each one's a different tone, supposed to have a different result. I believe it's with 396 hertz, 417 hertz, 528 hertz, 639 hertz, 796 hertz, I forgot. I think it's 896 and then 964 or something. They're all set up in these format to where they're when you go to, I think the first one, or the one that's 296, and the last one's like 962. It's in reverse, and somewhere in the middle. Anyway, it's a mathematical formula, the tones that we supposedly call solfeggio tones. And it's bugged me because I've been interested in solfeggio for about 4 or 5 years. So I at one time got really into it, and I was listening to all the tones, and I was thinking, wow, this seemed to have an effect, but do they really? So I dug deeper and deeper, and I found out that this is what I found on solfeggio. Solfeggio tones were declared to be true by Dr. Leonard Horowitz in 1999 in a book that he wrote, which was about how we can heal ourselves or something about DNA. I'm not sure the name of the book. Horowitz presumed that these, through mathematics, that these were the original Gregorian chants that they used. These were the tones. Now, they claim that we're being fooled, that we're being sucked into this low frequency, right? And that we need to be using this proper musical scale in order to bring ourselves into alignment with our higher selves. Now, I'd love to think that. I'd love to believe that. So I looked into it. I wanted to know. I find out that Horowitz was the only one to prescribe this idea, and afterwards he was followed by David Icke. I just found out is one of the major promoters of this, and he's got a ton of followers. And so people are just believing and repeating what they've heard. And I found out that, because my question was this, how can you understand these frequencies when they are based on, they say that it's a biblical translation. They use these chapters of the Bible, say, look, it's 396, and so therefore that's the tone. And I'm sitting here saying, you're talking about hertz. Hertz are a measurement of frequency, okay? The hertz is a vibration, a rate of vibration. 1 hertz is 1 vibration per second, or cycle per second, if you would. So a 20 hertz tone is 20 vibrations per second, which is a very low bass note. 20,000 hertz per second, or cycles per second, is a very high note, like a dog whistle. So you've not quite a dog whistle, actually. That's within the range of human hearing. But how can you correlate hertz, and which are cycles per second, and second is a man-made time as well, because it's created based on the degradation of the cesium atom. You can break this all down scientifically, and it goes, it gets to the point where it's like solfeggio appears to be complete bullshit. Now, I hate to say that, because I really would like to believe that they had it figured out. But what's wrong is these people are preaching this as gospel, and I've been experimenting with my own frequencies, so my own thought is this, perhaps it relates more to the planetary frequencies, the music of the spheres. Maybe that is really the key. And now that we can kind of tap into that and understand the way that the planets and the sun sound, maybe we can utilize that, because that would be the life force, the life giver. That would be the vibrational frequency that puts us into these states when the moon's full or when there's a solar flare. And as much as 10 years ago, people were saying there's no correlation between the sun and our moods or our behavior. Now they just found out a study in Europe where they found out during solar flares, the risk of stroke goes up by like 30%. It's just insane. And, they didn't know these until they started doing the studies. Nobody really thought the sun had any impact on us. A lot of us did. I've always known that the sun affects us. We all know that. All of us who are into the metaphysical and the deeper meaning of life, we understand that, but we can never prove it. And now scientifically they have proof that the sun affects us, that the vibratory rates affect us. These tones very well may affect us too. But when we're going around trying to understand it, there are millions of people out there who are into Solfeggio. And my belief is that it's completely psychosomatic, self-contained little world that we create to think that it works. And I don't mean to belittle anybody who believes in them, because the fact is, intention is behind everything. If you intend for them to believe, that's why it's kind of hard to say things like that, because if it's working for people, then that's great. But people should know that the evidence behind those tones doesn't exist. So it's not a real musical scale. It's not a legitimate musical scale. Nobody would use that scale to play music. I'm a musician, and Solfeggio scale doesn't make sense to me. So anyway, maybe I'm just not a good enough musician. So anyway, I think that we can all utilize these frequencies. We just have to figure out what they really are. And another person said that the sun, when I mentioned the sun, they said that the frequency was 126. And I went and looked, and I found out that it sounded like 72 hertz to me when I hear the sun. So I started experimenting more and found out that it's a combination, of course, of many. There's like 72 hertz, and then like 400 something hertz, and 4,000 hertz. But it's a constant vibrational rate. See, it's not just about the tone, it's about the pattern. And this is what the most important thing that I'm finding out is that it's not just a consistent tone that's going to give you results. It's going to be a pattern, and the cyclical pattern of the sun sound. If you listen to the solar sounds, you'll see what I mean. It's a very distinctive pattern, and perhaps that pattern is what's needed. I don't know. Much more work to do. It's kind of a bummer that Solfeggio appears to be bunk, but it's even sadder that millions of people believe it to be real ancient tones when it's really just proposed by this one guy in 1999 and then backed up by others. Oh, here's one more thing I wanted to say. I want to make sure I got the time on here. Oh yeah, plenty of time. There's a claim that 528 hertz is considered the tone of love. This is the one that most people use who are into Solfeggio. And the claim that was proposed is that it's used all around the world by scientists for DNA repair. And so I said, well, if this is true, I need to see, because this would lend a lot of credibility to the rest of the tones. So I looked, and I looked, and I looked, and I looked. And there is absolutely no evidence I can find that says that any scientist has ever used 528 hertz to do anything related to DNA. So if I'm mistaken, I'm not trying to be cocky. I would love to look at the real evidence, but it appears the only pages I've found that say that it's true are the ones that are saying that anybody who talks against Solfeggio are co-Intel pro, and I mean ludicrous stuff that people are all paid by the government to spread so we keep our vibrational rates down. Here's the way I see it, all right? We keep ourselves down. We keep our own vibrational rates down. It's not the government putting out waves of energy. Nobody's out there trying to control your mind. I'm sure people are trying, but it's just an excuse for people to cop out and say, look at all these people, what they're trying to do to us, so we don't have to take charge of our own sanity, take charge of our own discoveries. You know, it's a lot easier to point the finger at a person who is saying, oh, Solfeggio is not true, and call them co-intel, like, I don't even, that's like, yeah, counterintelligence, right? You know, I've been called stuff like that, and it's like, what are you talking about? You know, there's people out here who just want to know the truth, and we want to know where do you have the evidence for these things? And I can't find any evidence of DNA repair through frequency, so I'm open to it if it's there. So the reason why I'm making this video and talking down on Solfeggio is because I know that there are millions of people who are interested in it. And if we could take that energy and put it towards our own experiments with cross-referencing different volumes, different frequencies, different tones, vibrations, patterns, instead of just sitting and listening to a tone or a nice little, you know, tune, if we're really into that, maybe we could find a real healing frequency, something that is actually meant for us. And I think it exists. But I think it's a combination of tones, and I think that the sun is a good place to start, and we can branch out from there. So, peace and love, everybody. I'm out.